Here is your thoughtful 3-act, 1,400 to 1,700 word American-style voiceover script, rewritten with our new names, new settings, new details. A natural emotional rhythm, cinematic beats, and a strong moral ending. It flows as one continuous narrative paragraph style. No unnecessary line breaks, uses about commas, dashes, ellipses. And sounds like a real person recounting a life-changing night. Voiceover script approx. 1550 words. I still remember the moment everything cracked open, like the universe just decided to show its cards all at once. It happened at the Langford estate during a $400 million anniversary gala, chandeliers dripping from the ceiling, senators and CEOs floating around like they owned the air and me. A catering server people barely looked at long enough to acknowledge. And right in the middle of all that glitter and arrogance, I yelled 2 words that ripped the night apart. Don't drink it. Yeah, that happened, and it didn't come from courage. Not really, it came from panic, desperation. And maybe that tiny, stubborn part of me that refused to stay invisible forever. But to understand why a nobody like me dared to interrupt the richest man in the room, you gotta know who I was before I stepped into that ballroom. My name back then was Talia Brooks. 29 years old, living in a rundown apartment in Newark with my daughter Chloe, who believed triangles tasted better than rectangles, and that pancakes at a real restaurant must be magical because kids on TV always looked so happy eating them. I worked double shifts, triple shifts, whatever they gave me, and still spent nights staring at ceilings stained like old bruises, wondering if I was failing at life or just stuck on pause. Thing is, I used to be a chemistry student. A good one. Top of my class. My professors thought I'd end up in a lab coat changing the world. But life doesn't ask what you want. It drops anvils on your head whenever it feels like it. My dad died in a warehouse accident. No payout, no justice, just grief and bills. My mom got sick, and suddenly I was the only one left to take care of anything. So the lab coat went back into a box and the catering uniform took its place. And let me tell you, nobody cares what degree you almost had when you're handing out champagne. To them, you're just part of the wallpaper. Fast forward to the night everything changed. The catering van rolled up the driveway of the Langford estate. A place so big it looked like someone bought a small country and decided to put a house on it. There were hedges taller than my apartment building, a fountain with marble horses, security guards dressed nicer than anyone I'd ever dated, and that energy rich people radiate, the kind that says, you are here to serve, not speak. I was assigned champagne service easy enough until the event planner, this human icicle named Ms. Duval, started barking rules like we were soldiers going to war, no talking, no eye contact, no mistakes, no personality of any kind. And honestly, for a while I was fine being invisible. It felt safer. But trouble has a way of recognizing me, I swear, like it has my address memorized. About 4 hours before the gala, I walked into the wine prep room and found Ms. Duval losing her mind over $30,000 worth of vintage wine she thought had spoiled. Everyone else backed away like she was radioactive. But I couldn't help it. The labels, the sediment patterns, the cork conditions. My brain switched back into chemistry mode before I could stop it. So, I spoke quietly, the wine isn't spoiled. And let me tell you, she turned so fast I thought she'd snap her neck. Did you just speak without permission? She snapped, and every server in the room froze. But I kept going, explaining temperature stress versus oxidation, how half the bottles were still perfectly fine, maybe even improved. She tested them. I was right. Suddenly, the invisible girl was visible, and not everyone liked that. A man standing in the doorway, tall gray hair, eyes sharp like he saw through people. That was Samuel Langford, the billionaire hosting the party. He asked for my name, asked where I learned chemistry, asked why I wasn't still doing it. And for the first time in a long time, someone actually listened when I answered. He even said something that stuck with me: integrity is the one thing money can't buy. I didn't know it then, but those words were about to matter more than anything. The gala began at 8. Guests shimmered into the ballroom like they'd been poured out of gold molds. Lila Langford Samuel's wife glided around flawless, practiced, every smile crisp and calculated. You know the type, the kind of woman who can insult you without moving her face. Their daughter Marin arrived later. Thin, pale eyes full of something I recognized. The quiet kind of fear people hide behind makeup. She locked eyes with me in the hall at one point and asked, "Do I know you?" Sized in the softest voice. I said no, but 3 years earlier she had been the woman who stopped at a gas station at 2 a.m. when I was homeless with a toddler in my lap and gave me $40 and a motel address. She had no idea who I was, or that her kindness saved me. But she looked so fragile that night, like someone whose life was being puppeted behind her back. Then came the part that still gives me chills. I went into the staging room to replace champagne flutes the room only staff with clearance could enter, and I saw Lila Langford standing there with her assistant Carter. She held a tiny vial, clear liquid, maybe 3 ml tops. Carter whispered, "Once it mixes with his heart meds, it'll read as natural cardiac failure. Tragic, but expected." My stomach dropped. I watched her pour the vial into a single glass marked with a red ribbon, the same glass Samuel would raise at the anniversary toast. I made some sound, I don't even know what, but Carter heard me. He grabbed me and dragged me into a storage closet, his hand clamped so tight on my arm that bruises bloomed instantly. He leaned in, breath cold as stone, and whispered, "If you speak, your daughter dies. Do you understand?" And when he said her name, Chloe, everything inside me turned to ice. For a while I thought about staying silent. I really did. Because you can threaten me all day long, but threaten my kid, it hits different. But then I saw Marin again in the hall, eyes pleading for help she didn't even know she needed. I remembered the gas station. I remembered integrity. And I remembered the way Samuel looked when he said that word, like he'd spent his whole life searching for someone who actually meant it. So when the string quartet swelled and Samuel lifted that poisoned glass, something inside me snapped. I stepped forward and screamed, "Don't drink it!" The whole room froze. Cameras turned. Security grabbed me. Lila put on her best concerned rich lady act, saying I'd had a mental breakdown, that I was fabricating nonsense. But Samuel didn't drink. He stared at me like he was seeing a ghost and said, "Let her speak." So I told him, voice shaking but honest, "Your glass was tampered with. I saw your wife put something in it. Please test it. If I'm wrong, I'll accept whatever comes." And Lila turned on him with this icy whisper, "You're going to believe a server over your own wife of 25 years. People gasped. But Samuel just watched her with this quiet horror, like he was finally seeing something that had been hiding in plain sight. The test came back positive. Lethal interaction with his heart meds. He would have been dead before the applause ended. Within hours, security tapes were reviewed, financials pulled, messages exposed. Lila's entire plan unraveled. Insurance changes, secret accounts, conversations with Carter about timelines, and removal procedures. In the days that followed, arrests were made, press swarmed, and Samuel filed for divorce so fast the ink practically smoked. And me? I tried to go back to normal life, but Samuel wasn't having it. He found me sitting on a crate in the service hall, still shaking, and he knelt, an actual billionaire kneeling in front of a server, and said, "You saved my life, and you risked yours to do it." He offered me a job, not serving drinks, but directing a new initiative funded by the assets Lila lost trying to take his life. A program for single parents who had to drop out of school, people like me, who were one bad moment away from losing everything. He helped me finish my degree. He paid for Chloe's schooling. And he said, "Real wealth is what you give away, not what you hoard." Months later, I stood in a glass-walled office overlooking the city, my diploma finally framed on the wall. Chloe running in every afternoon after school to show me her drawings of molecules, telling everyone her mom was a real chemist. And one night at the same gas station where my life fell apart, I saw another young woman sitting on the curb, baby asleep in her arms, 2 bags holding everything she owned. I walked over and handed her a motel key, some cash, and my card. She whispered the same question I once asked Marin, "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." And I said, "I don't have to know you. I just need to see you. So now I'm asking you, What do you do when life gives you one moment to choose integrity over fear? Do you stay silent or do you speak? And have you ever seen someone judged because of their job, their skin, their clothes, only for the truth to flip everything upside down? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear what you think is right, what you think is wrong, and whether you believe kindness still matters in a world obsessed with money and power. And if this story hit you in the chest the way living it hit me, share it. You never know whose life you might be changing without even realizing it.